What if the only way to kill inflation was to break the economy? In 1979, one quiet banker decided to try. He pushed interest rates high enough to make prices scream. Jobs fell, mortgage spiked, and America reset. Stay with me. The 1970s were a slow-motion price fire. Two oil shocks raised costs at the pump and at the store. Wages chased prices. Prices chased wages. The dollar slid. Confidence cracked. CPI, inflation, hit double digits more than once. Households felt poorer each month. In August 1979, Paul Volcker became Fed chair. He believed promises were useless without pain. He believed the Fed had to prove it hated inflation. He chose credibility over comfort. On October 6, 1979, the Fed changed the game. Traders call it the Saturday night special. Instead of steering short-term rates tightly, the Fed targeted bank, reserves, and money growth. It let the Fed funds rate swing as needed to choke inflation. Volatility became a tool, not a bug. Rates ripped higher and then higher again. The prime rate topped 21%. 30-year mortgage rates neared 18%. Car loans felt like credit cards. Gaste mal businessstart niet brok. Two recessions hit back-to-back. One in 1980, a deeper one in 1981 to 1982. Unemployment peaked near 10.8%. Factories closed. Farm auctions filled county calendars. Families delayed moves and big purchases. Everyone asked the same question: is this worth it? Volcker kept going because the old path failed. He wanted prices to stop jumping before paychecks arrived. He wanted people to believe next year's prices would be calm. Belief is everything in money. Without belief, every contract demands a higher inflation cushion. With belief, long-term deals get cheaper for everyone. By late 1980, the fever broke. Inflation fell fast from the peaks of 1980. The dollar strengthened. Bond yields finally bent lower. A long disinflation era began. The next, for decades, rode lower inflation and lower rates. That new regime shaped mortgage stocks and government budgets. The policy was brutal and uneven. Borrowers paid the biggest price. Savers finally earned real yields again. Debt-heavy firms struggled to roll loans. Interest rate risk became a boardroom word, but the lesson stuck. Credibility beats comfort in a crisis. What did this change for your wallet? First, the Fed learned to move fast when inflation threatens. If expectations drift, the hammer can fall again. Second, long fixed mortgages protect households in a storm. If you locked a rate, you kept your payment while others sank. Third, cash has a job. An emergency fund buys time when jobs wobble. Here is a simple map of the 1979 to 1980 playbook. When the Fed fights prices, it tightens money supply. Rates rise across the curve. Credit spreads can widen as fear grows. Leverage breaks the weak hands. After inflation cools, the Fed can ease. Long bonds often rally hard when credibility returns. Translate that into today's moves you can control. If rates are rising, fix critical debts first. Mortgages, car loans, and small business lines should not float without caps. Match bond duration to your timeline. Short, bills for near-term cash. Intermediate, funds if your horizon is longer and shocks are fading. Use tips if inflation fear still sits in your gut. Keep costs low because fees do not fight inflation. for you. Think about work and wages too. In high inflation periods, employers prefer flexibility over commitments. Build a second income skill. Negotiate cost of living adjusters where you can. Stay valuable when budgets are tight. Here are 3 numbers that matter in every inflation fight. Inflation expectations from surveys and the bond market. Unit labor costs and productivity growth. The unemployment rate and job openings gap. When expectations fall, when labor costs cool, when the job market rebalances, the Fed can stop pressing the brake. Volcker's choice angered millions in the moment. It also made the dollar believable again. A credible currency reduced guesswork in every price tag. Loans got cheaper once the war ended. Investment planning got clearer for decades. Pain bought stability. Let us ground this in one household example. A family in 1981 faced an 18% mortgage quote they could not buy. They saved cash and waited. By 1985, rates were far lower. They bought with a smaller monthly hit and less risk. Timing beats emotion when policy is swinging the pendulum. Another example is the business owner. In 1980, to rolling debt at prime plus a spread was deadly. Those who fixed earlier survived. Those who matched loans to asset lives survived. Those who ran thin cash buffers did not. So what exactly did 1979 to 1980 to reset? It reset the idea that money should hold value year to year. It reset the rule that central banks must hurt growth to save prices. It reset the bond market into a long secular decline in yields. It reset how households think about fixed payments. Here are your takeaways you can use this year. Watch inflation expectations and unit labor costs. If they pop, be conservative with new floating debt. If they cool, start extending duration slowly. Keep 6 months of expenses in high-yield cash. Run a stress test on your budget at rates 2 points higher. Decide before the news tells you to. Volcker pressed the brake to the floor to prove a point. He proved that credibility is expensive and priceless at the same time. He proved that short pain can prevent long decay. He proved that design and willpower can reset a system. If this helped you see how an old inflation fight still guides your rates today, subscribe now.